Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Brian's Driving Theater, we will meet with Brian Walker, the one, the only, the legendary, and he will take us down into the land of strange cinema where we are wont to frequent when speaking with him. Greetings, Brian. How are you?
I'm well tonight, Hercules. How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as I can do. So I'm doing good.
Well, great. This is one of my favorite times of year. I love the weather in late summer, early fall. And this is also horror movie season. I mean, we're on the lead up to Halloween now. We're only, what, about 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out, something like that. From Halloween. And I've been trying to, I've made it one of my goals to watch all of the Conjuring films, the whole universe, I guess I should say, of Conjuring movies. There's a new one out right now with Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson called The Conjuring Last Rites. And I haven't seen it yet. I've wanted to, and it's on a double bill at the Brownsville Drive-In this weekend, which is about an hour from here, with Weapons. And I haven't seen Weapons yet, and I also want to see it. So if the weather works out this weekend, I think we're going to run to the drive-in
That
and
sounds awesome.
watch both of those movies. But in the meanwhile, I've been trying to bone up on the rest of the, the Conjuring movies, which is kind of hard and it takes a lot of time because there is an ever-growing universe for the Conjuring films. The very first one was directed by James Wan. Actually, the first two, I should say. And he's got a pretty good horror rep at this point. And just for a point of reference, he also wrote and directed the first Saw movie, which was a very low budget effort. The first Conjuring movie, which came out in 2013, was also pretty well. It wasn't low budget; it was $20 million, but it was a very lucrative film because it made many times that in worldwide distribution. I think it made about like $350 million or so, something like that, which is a fantastic return on $20 million horror film.
Yes, it is.
And the Conjuring films, now I think we're getting close to 11 of them, with a couple of new releases that are coming out in the next month or so. It's also the most profitable horror series at this point, in terms of earning. I mean, it's earned billions of dollars if you count the Conjuring films, starting with the 2013 film The Conjuring, and then coming up to present with The Conjuring Last Rites. These movies are about Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were uh, who did paranormal investigations in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. Um, I think they quit doing it in the 80s, I believe, as I recall. And the new film, the Conjuring Last Rites, is actually about their last case, the last case that they took on. Um, and there have been spin-offs from the Conjuring films as well. There's a spin-off from the Conjuring 2. And the Conjuring 2 is based on the Enfield poltergeist case in England from the late 1970s. It's a pretty famous case in Britain. And The Conjuring 2 is, to tell you the truth, in many ways a great movie. As much as I like the original Conjuring film, there are elements about The Conjuring 2 that I like even better. There are some really great gotcha,
Mhm.
scenes with both films, but particularly in the second one. My fault with the second movie is that it's probably 20 to 25 minutes too long. It gets kind of flabby in the middle, and I think it could have been edited for pace and content. And the end of it, I think, is a little drawn out too. I mean, after all the horrific stuff that we see, the very end of it is almost soap opera, like in terms of wrapping it up, and it takes a while too. I think a lot of that could have been excised. Um, one of the most fascinating things about The Conjuring 2 is Valak the nun, who makes her first appearance in Conjuring 2. And the spin-off from Conjuring 2 is called The Nun. And it is a wild ride.
Yes, it is.
That e- even the Valak the nun, I mean, just her visage, I kind of sends shivers up my spine. I mean, the character herself, I think, is just terrifying. Um, but I mean, the movie I think was a lot of fun, and there's a Nun 3 movie coming out, I believe, in October. Um, so that's going to expand the universe even more.
I think there was a film called La Llorona. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that was part of the Conjuring universe, but then they disowned it, even though it has a character from the Conjuring in there in the same position where he's in the Conjuring, and it fills in a piece of the story. But for some reason, they decided to disown it.
Yeah, that came out, I think, in 2019.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds about right.
there's an unusual chronology with the Conjuring films, and that includes the Nun films and the Annabelle series, which I think we're getting up to 4 of those here pretty soon.
Wow.
The one that goes back the farthest is The Nun from 2018. It starts in 1952. Which I think is around the time that Ed and Lorraine Warren got married. Because they were both born, I think Ed Warren was born in 1926 and Lorraine was born in 1927. I think they got married in the early 1950s, and they had a daughter. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe the daughter was born in 1952. Um, but yeah, that's sort of early on into their paranormal investigations. And the very first time I saw The Conjuring, I thought, gosh, this is sort of a cross between Amityville Horror and the Dead Files, in a sense. You've been a longtime fan of the Travel Channel's Dead Files, especially with the original physical medium that they had, Amy Allen. Uh, I can't say for sure if she has any abilities or not, but the theater of the show is just incredible. I mean, it's a great formula, really, for an hour long show to do these investigation of these supposed haunted locations. Most of them in the Dead Files are people's homes, but occasionally they'll go into, let's say, a restaurant or a theater or something of that nature, to look into buildings that are allegedly haunted. Um, Physical mediums tend to get beaten up, and we see that in The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren, played by Vera Farmiga. If you watch the Conjuring movies that she is in, she physically physically takes a toll on her because since she's a physical medium, so much of it comes through her, and she's the one who can see everything, and she internalizes all of it, and oftentimes physical mediums don't live too long. Lorraine Warren, though, was the exception. I mean, she lived to a very ripe old age. I think she was maybe 90, 91 when she passed away.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's kind of, to tell you the truth, that's a little rare for a physical medium to live that long. Oftentimes they don't live very long. So interestingly enough, yeah, Ed Warren, I think but he wasn't really a medium so much. But he, I think, was about 80 or so when he passed away in 2006.
Yeah, he,
Now you have seen some of the Conjuring movies, correct?
I've seen everything that was out. I've seen the Conjuring movies, I've seen the Nun and the Annabelle movies, and La Llorona. And again, La Llorona, depending on what I was reading or watching on the internet, it either was or wasn't part of the Conjuring series. But there's a priest in there who is part of the Conjuring series, and
Right.
the incident that the La Llorona deals with ties into something going on in the Conjuring series. So I'm counting it as part of the Conjuring series, and I liked them so much I eventually bought them all. So I thought I put them someplace, but I didn't put them where I thought I put them. Otherwise, they'd be right in front of me. Um, so I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it so much that I went out and got Insidious, which was again an earlier effort from some of the folks involved with
Mhm.
The Conjuring, and I enjoyed that very much as well. So they made a fan out of me.
I'm a big fan of them too. I do think that overall they're very well done. The scares themselves in the movies, I think, are inventive. And um, if a horror film can produce, that kind of reaction in you, typically that's a good horror film. If it makes you recoil, if it makes you jump, those. I mean, that's like a rave review in terms of, of being in a horror film. Now, some horror films are not like that necessarily. Some of them, build tension. But a lot of the horror that we see today, the ones that are as successful, and this is an incredibly successful series of films. If you count all 11 or 12 of them, um, there there are, well, if you count the La Lorna, there would be 12, I guess, by the time that the next Annabelle movie and the next Nun movie come out. But the filmmakers themselves, James Wan and Michael Chaves, I think you're right. I think they discount the Curse of La Lorna, and they would count that one out and leaving 11 films. But that's a lot of cinema to go through,
Yeah, it
and
is.
the Ed and Lorraine Warren's characters aren't in all of the films. Uh,
Right.
but
They're
they're
weird
in.
connections, though, even though they might
Yeah.
not be in the film. Uh, One of the characters is played by the Lorraine actress's sister or something, and they've laid little hints that there might be something, a real connection as well. I remember there were all sorts of intricacies and layers in those movies.
There are, and like I said, I'm a little late to the party here, in trying to watch all of these movies because I have not seen all of them. And some of them are better than others, quite honestly. A couple of the Annabelle movies are a little weak. Maybe the weakest, of the spinoffs. Now, the first one I thought was terrific. I really liked it. Annabelle the doll figures briefly into the very first Conjuring movie, and it's a very creepy looking doll. James Wan originally, the doll that the story of Annabelle was based on was actually either a Raggedy Ann or a Raggedy Andy. I think it was a Raggedy Ann,
Yeah,
right?
it was Raggedy Ann, yes.
Okay. Well, obviously, you're not going to be able to get Hasbro or whoever owns the rights to Raggedy Ann to sign off on making her, you know, a possessed doll. So James Wan had to come up with a different look, for the doll, and I think they did a great job because it is incredibly creepy, and I think the creepy looking doll I think works much better than Raggedy Ann would have anyway because it just
Yeah.
doesn't. It just, I mean, yes, it might have been a menacing toy, but it just doesn't look menacing. And are those dolls, even Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy, are those still around? Do you have any idea?
I haven't seen any
Oh,
since, I
I'm
don't
not
even
there.
remember how long it, but it's been quite a while since I've seen anything even related to as like a cultural reference to Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I would be a little bit in the dark on that. Um, but Annabelle, which came out the year after the first Conjuring movie, it came out in 2014. It's sort of a prequel to what happens in the first Conjuring movie because that's set in 1971, and it's the one that's set in Rhode Island. With the family of seven that move
Mhm.
into the old house that apparently is very haunted. But at the very beginning of the first Conjuring movie, we get a couple of glimpses of Annabelle. We don't. She doesn't factor that much into the very first movie. But then there are all these callbacks, and I think in total, with the new Annabelle film, that'll be number four, I believe, in that part of the spinoff series. It's no wonder that the Conjuring universe has made so much money and is so successful because there's so many movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were abuzz when Last Rites was first not released, but when the buzz started for Last Rites because it was the sort of the end of the series in a sense because it's the last case that the Warrens ever did. However, I also read that HBO Max is planning to do a television series based on the Conjuring films.
Okay.
So they can tap into more of the case studies that Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated over the course of their lives. And have you ever watched any of their footage that they shot or any of
Yes.
the tapes? What's your take on all that?
Well, they were good storytellers,
Yeah.
and a lot. I'm heavily into the paranormal, as you know. So of course I was aware of the Warrens and what they were doing while they were doing it. The Warrens have since the beginning been accused of taking liberties with the information that was provided to them to write the books,
Mhm.
and also to misrepresent facts a little creatively. So again, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say what they did or didn't do. But that's been the accusation. And then people
Yeah.
who made entertainment from the Lawrence work took more liberties with the reality.
Mhm.
So um, I don't I never knew what to think. I left it open to a particular interpretation, and it was an interpretation that was consistent as far as the Warrens went, and it struck a resonance in the popular culture around it because people were entertained and drawn back to it. So I put it in that kind of reality. It's like it's speculative uh,
Mhm.
occultism.
Yeah. To tell you the truth, I think that's a great way of looking at it, and I do think that the Warrens are maybe a little more style than substance uh, at times. However, I mean, what no matter what we think of them and their research or the quality of their research, I suppose, it has provided the basis. I mean, it's provided fodder for some terrific movies,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I liked the old Amityville horror film, and there were several of those, as I recall, and
Yeah.
that story has been debunked, 100 times. But at the time that the original movie came out in the late 1970s, I mean, it was a big to do. It was a big hit with James Brolin, and it was one that I saw at the theater. Actually, I can remember going to see the
I
movie.
did too.
And I was a teenager at the time, and I thought there were some chills in it. I have not watched it in many years, however, and I'm not sure that a fresh watching of it, which for a movie that's now 46, 47 years old, I'm not sure what I would get out of it at this point, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
I was where you are. I was considering getting the entire runs. They had it on DVD, not that expensively, but I had to ask myself honestly, am I going to actually sit down and watch all of these movies? I couldn't answer the question, so I let it remain unbought for now. I could always buy it on Amazon.
That's true. Um, Oftentimes, Amazon's price for their streaming is as much, if not more, than sometimes the physical media is. So,
Yes,
oftentimes we'll just go ahead and get the physical media
me
um,
too.
because you never know when things are going to go poof and disappear.
And they have several times.
Well, and they will too. That this will continue. I mean, there's been a kind of a big shakeup with some of the properties that Paramount owns, and some of the properties that they used to own, you now can't see on Paramount because they've gone to Max. Um, so it can be kind of hard to track all of that stuff down. And I think Netflix is probably the worst for having a movie on for a while and then it goes away and never comes back.
Netflix is also great with not continuing series that everybody loves.
Yeah, a long series for Netflix is what, 2 seasons?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it just for whatever reason doesn't do very well. And I think Netflix actually they've had a lot of trouble, haven't they? I mean, aren't they kind of in the dumper? I mean, I don't think any of the streaming services are technically making a profit. Um,
Well, that's a whole other show, but I agree with you.
yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, I know after COVID, we had little reason to go to the movies like we used to on date night once a month. And now it's like if you wait a few weeks or if you wait a couple of months, you can get it on streaming and watch it from your house. So
Hmm.
why go through all the bother of unless it's something truly exceptional?
Yeah, that's kind of true too. We've got, over the last year or so, we've gotten back into going to the theater. And for us, it's not much of a hassle because we only have one theater left here in this college town, and it's an AMC. It's a traditional mall-based
Hmm.
AMC megaplex, um, and it could be cleaner, but other than that, it's pleasant enough. And they've got the heated seats with the recline feature and such. So they're comfortable, pretty well. Sorry about the invading feline. they're they're typically pretty comfortable. And if you go on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think oftentimes the tickets are like $6.50 or something like that. So if the two of us would go on, let's say a Tuesday, we could watch the film cheaper than we could see it on Amazon because those movies are what, $20-$25 when they first come out. But you're right. If you are patient enough to wait for 2, 3, 4 months, oftentimes you can see them for $5 or and maybe even free, depending on which streaming service it finally pops up on.
Yeah, the last movies we saw were they were Marvel movies. They were the Thunderbolts and Captain America 4. And what do you call it? And although I enjoyed the movies, they weren't really worth having gone to the theater to see them.
It wasn't worth the hassle.
Yeah, and I own them now on physical media. So now that Fantastic Four and Superman came out, I had no real drive to go see them in the theaters, even though a year previously I would have insisted on it.
Hmm. Well, and I don't know about you, but sometimes Well, I'll just say this. When we do rent a movie and watch it at home as opposed to going to the theater, I'm typically more comfortable at home because I can pause it and
Right.
go do whatever it is that I need to do. Or you grab a snack or something like that. Um, but I mean, I do like going. I mean, I like the whole aspect of you going to the
Hmm.
theater and seeing a new release. I'm still into that, I suppose. And we've been averaging about a movie a week at the theater over this past year.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it has been. And you will occasionally also see some new content on the streaming services. Uh, we've been pretty heavy into HBO Max over the last few months here. They seem to have more of the content that we've been looking for, at least as of late.
Yeah, I don't remember what shows are on what channel. My wife keeps track of keeps track of all that. We've been watching Wednesday, which is an Adams Family show.
Hmm.
We've been enjoying that. It's in its second season. It finished, I think, the second season, and they left enough dangling threads to lead you to believe there's going to be a third season.
Now, do you remember which platform that's on?
I really don't remember.
I don't think it's. I really don't know now that I think about it.
I'm baffled by all the different controllers we have to use to get streaming to do this and that and to make it
Oh,
separate. What it is. My wife knows how to do it. I just let her do it.
the TV that we have in the living room is connected to our antenna, our satellite dish. We also have Tableau, which allows us to record from the antenna.
Oh, cool.
Um, but we have to use a Roku to connect the TV to the Tableau. Why, I don't know, but that's what Tableau insisted on. And then we have all these streaming services. And it's also connected to a DVD player. So the living room TV is like maxed out. Behind the TV, I mean, it looks okay, unless you start peering behind it. And behind the TV, it is a massive wire. Sorry,
It's okay.
my cat is a problem.
My dog has jumped on my lap a couple of times. I was concerned she was going to come up to the screen and lick my nose, which she does when she jumps on my lap.
Well, hope she didn't break the clock here. There we go. It looks okay.
She got your attention though, which was her intention.
Yeah, yeah, she's very good at that. Um, if typically, sometimes we have friends over on the weekend, and we'll play cards and watch a movie or have dinner, something of that nature. And Tippy's very social, extremely social. Loves it when people come over. Murray, he could do without it, but he doesn't run and hide. I mean, he'll be out, but Tippy is up in everybody's face. And one of my friends was over playing cards this weekend, and she loves this particular friend that we have, loves him. And he was playing cards and not paying attention to her, so she bit him.
Yeah,
She did. She just went.
our cat will bite you too if you're not paying attention to her.
Well, I mean, she bites us, but I didn't realize that she was just going to bite random people who walk through the front door.
How dare they not pay attention to her? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah, she's Tippy's got balls. I mean, most female cats do, but she's got bigger ones than most. I mean, she started out as an outdoor. She started out as an outdoor cat, at least for us. I have a feeling that somebody threw her out because
mm,
she can be a handful. And she was probably, I don't know, 6 months old or so when we found her outside here. But she was in pretty good shape. Her coat was clean. She wasn't starved. She wasn't bony or anything like that. So I think we found her pretty early on into her abandonment. And she still has a few outdoor cat traits, though. You know, she's
Civilized manners.
well, I mean, they're we wouldn't call them civilized. She might. But yeah, Tippy's rough though. I mean, she's and our other cat Murray. He has never known any kind of adversity at all ever. You know, um, and he's just and the male cats are very different from the females anyway. But he's just kind of lazy and you know he if like I said, when people come over, I mean, he won't run away. He'll walk up to them and they'll pet him, and then he'll go take a nap on the couch or something like that. But Tippy is going to be all over whoever walks into this house.
Yeah, we only have one cat now. We have two dogs. I'm much more a cat person than I'm a dog person. I mean, I love our dogs, but
Mhm.
I like cats a lot better.
I mean, I like dogs too, but I've had more cats over the years, and as a pet, they've worked better for me. But I do like dogs, and I see why people love their dogs. But yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm more of a cat person,
So,
except when they bite me or knock my stuff over.
do you know what they're planning on doing with the Conjuring films? Like, are they going to continue just making sequels forever, or?
Well, I mean, the series. I think that for now, this is conjecture on my part, but I think the Conjuring films are going to morph into the television series.
Okay.
But that's not to say that there won't be additional spinoffs that will become movies as well. I really think that they're going to milk this one for all it's worth because it has been so successful. And the movies, at least The Conjuring, I haven't seen the newest one, but the movies are of a similar quality. And that's kind of hard to do, I think, with sequels.
Yeah.
And the two main characters, I think, really bring it together. In the form of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. They're both excellent in their roles. They're really
Patrick
good.
Wilson was in Insidious too, I believe. The guy played Warren, the husband. He
Mhm.
was Insidious, so that that also ties the films together in some weird way. And I was going to next time I watch them over, see if they connect in some like bizarre way. I'll look on YouTube in the meanwhile to see if anybody's noticed something that they can expound about and intensify the mystery.
I'm kind of eager to see what happens with HBO Max and the series itself, though. And I'll be interested to see if, any of the cast from the movies will carry over into the series. I
And if
just,
they're going to repeat the stuff that happened in the series, because the Warrens investigated much more than 11 things, or a
oh,
dozen things. They have years of experiences, some of which they didn't write books about, but they wrote like chapters in books about. Like there was a book they had called The Demonologist that, for instance, that had every chapter was like a case that they investigated, not as in depth as Amityville Horror, the werewolf case, and so on. But I'm sure they could focus on those things if they use the same actors. If not, they might
well,
just do the whole thing over again and use all the movies that they've made as fodder to borrow from in constructing a new way of experiencing it.
in the films, there's always a physical object that is tied into, the plot
Right.
or the action. In the very first movie, at the very beginning, it was Annabelle the doll. Um, in the second movie, it's Ed Warren's painting of the nun. And there's also that, what do you call it? Are those called heloscopes? The toy that the little boy has, that it has a light in it, and when it rotates, when the heat from the light bulb makes it rotate, it looks like there's a man running.
Oh, I know what you mean, but I'm not sure what it's called. I
I
know
can't think. I think there's called heloscopes or something like that. Um, I mean,
rotoscopes, maybe.
but there's always some physical object that is sort of the basis of the plot, even if it's just tangential. I mean, there's always something. So I guess you could go through the little museum that the Warrens have in their basement,
Yeah,
and you could base every episode of a series on one of those. And they weren't all toys, but there seemed to be a lot of toys. Um,
and there was one of the movies where a young girl locked herself in there overnight or something like that, and you got a few of these objects interacting with her and with each other.
mhm. So maybe that could be, like I said, maybe that could be the impetus for the series, is just focusing on an object for every episode.
There was a show called Friday the 13th that had that premise where a bunch of
Mhm.
people they had to gather up all these cursed artifacts that were still floating around out there, and they had them in some sort of museum or basement or something. And uh, that was a fun show to watch. So maybe it's time somebody brought something like that back.
Interestingly, I've got a couple of acquaintances who have always told me to be very careful about what I bring into my house that I have like found in an antique store.
Yes.
Have you ever run into anything that you've brought in that you thought might be cursed? I've had a couple of cars that I thought were cursed, but other than that, I don't think I've had anything else.
Any extreme stories, what do you call it? And not in a very long time. But I remember I used to, if like something untoward was happening when I introduced a new old object into my house, a new used object, is I would either let it sit in the sun for a while or bury it in a bunch of salt. And
Mhm.
usually the salt or the light from the sun would get rid of the bad vibes.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
when I was more involved with the paranormal and the occult, that was a common practice. Don't bring any influences into your house if you don't know their entire history and the history was good. So as a routine thing, people wouldn't allow things in their houses unless they've been cleansed in their favorite way. Some people use smoke from incense to cleanse items, but
Hmm.
I haven't really adhered to that. I have lots of stuff I got from eBay, and none of them have been purified before coming into my house.
Now, did you use black salt to do that, or just?
I personally did not. I used rock salt.
Okay, okay.
Some people just use Morton salt, whatever was available in the supermarket.
Oh, just just when it rains, it pours. No, I don't think I've. Well, I said I didn't have anything cursed. My laptop, I, I'm the original owner of it, but this thing really is cursed. I have been threatening to get a new one for like 2 years. I think I'm going to have to break down and do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to break down and get a new computer in the next couple of years also because this one's a dinosaur and things are no longer working on it.
I mean, I hate to do it because this laptop's only 4 years old, and when it is working, it works fine. Um, but some of the software on it I have gotten legally, through my employer, West Virginia University, and for whatever reason, it's just not working anymore. The software itself. I had to shut my machine down. This has been about a month ago. I had to shut my machine down and then bring it back up. And when I did, everything was gone. I mean, every program that I have installed from the university through their IT website was gone, and that included Microsoft Word. So no PowerPoint, no MS Word. The Zoom client was gone. There were a few other things.
Well, one of my I was locked out of Facebook for a while, and I was also locked out of my website. I was told I didn't have authorization to look at my own website.
That's odd.
And that happened for like a year, these things lasted. And then all of a sudden, I got my Facebook back. And then I got my website. A day later, my website came back.
Just back to back like that? That's odd.
Yeah. So, again, I can project all sorts of paranoid stories onto that. I'm not going to, but it was just very odd. And I keep all my old writings in my email in the drafts because they're drafts of things.
Mhm.
And now, if a draft is older than like a couple of years, when I go and find the file to bring it up, it's totally blank.
Hmm.
So something's erased my old drafts.
Do you need to bury your laptop in salt by any
That's right.
chance?
I think I'll use the method of incense. That might work best.
I I don't know. Like I said, when my laptop's working, when it's not crashing and burning, it's fine. I mean, it's stable. But there are some times when I'll turn it on and then, I just don't know what the hell's going on with it. Um, you, I'm really interested to see where the Conjuring series is going. It's now it's what, about a dozen years old or so, and it seems to be stronger than ever. I mean, in the span of about 6 weeks, we're going to see three new movies: The Conjuring 4, Last Rites, the new Annabelle film, and the new Nun movie. So that gets us up to, like I said, 11 or 12 if you count La Lorna, which they don't. So,
Which I do because I like.
yeah, yeah. What I wanted to talk about now was, or is, I should say, a birthday gift that I got for my birthday last month. Among other things, I got a Blu-ray set of Irwin Allen disaster movies. Now,
Oh,
not the ones that we fondly remember, like Poseidon Adventure or The Towering Inferno, Earthquake. These had the TV movies and some of Irwin Allen's later films, like Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, which was released about 7 years after the original film, but it takes place. There isn't a 7 year lag between the two stories. The second story picks up immediately where the first movie ends. And with Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, the premise for the movie is that there are people who want to get back on board the Poseidon because there's all this money and a lot of wealth that's on the boat, and that Telly Savalas wants to get off the boat somehow. uh, it's
you would.
well, yeah, it's not the worst movie in the world. It's not as much fun as the original film Poseidon Adventure, but I think it is a different. I like the twist of it, and I like what happens in the movie. Some of the performances are a little rough. Sally Field is just abysmal. I like her too, but this is probably her all-time worst performance. It's so bad it's almost shocking. It really is one note and grating. And I couldn't help but to think that she didn't really want to do the film and was just trying to knock out these lines as quickly as she could, so she could run to the Norma Ray set later on. Um, I have trouble believing that in the same year, 1979, she won an Academy Award for Norma Ray, and then appeared in this bomb and did a horrible job in it too. No, I mean, she's great in Norma Ray, but woo boy, Beyond Poseidon Adventure, PU. I mean, her performance stands out too. Everybody else is just, kind of reading their line. Peter Boyle's a little over the top, but everybody else doing a pretty good job. But Sally Field, woo, whoa, uh, just not a great performance. Now the Irwin Allen movies, were, he used to be referred to as the master of disaster, and disaster movies were, well, they're actually sort of still around, but that
Yeah.
the big heyday, was really in the 1970s. It was kind of hard to go to the theater when I was a kid and not see a disaster movie. Starting out with the airport movies, um, and I think Airport really sort of kicked, in a sense at least, kicked off the wave of disaster movies. And then the Poseidon Adventure, I think, rolled, into that as well. The two that I probably am fondest of are the Towering Inferno and Earthquake. In fact, I've got Earthquake on right now.
Oh, very cool. We're almost at the end of our conversation for today.
Oh,
Do you want to dedicate a show to disaster movies? We could follow this up and you
yeah.
could pick up where you left off.
Why don't we put this? We'll table this for now, and maybe pick it back up. Let's say in November. Um,
Oh,
next month we got to talk about horror films. We
okay,
can't
yeah,
talk
definitely.
about
And
disaster movies. But yeah, we'll definitely pick this one back.
Halloween's my wedding anniversary too, and
I
it
know.
being
Yeah.
my favorite holiday. So, uh, Brian, it is always a pleasure to speak with you, and I'm always sad when our conversations come to an end. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Enjoy whatever it is that you're doing, and may you have less problems with hardware and software. And say hi to Greg.
I'll do that. Take care.
You too. And thanks to all for tuning in. Until next time, joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night, everybody.